Hello and welcome again to a very English craft room and another in the scrapbooking series. This time a layout using photographs from a trip I took with my two children. I took them on a cruise ship and one of the stops was Rome, and this is when we were looking at the outside of the Colosseum. So I assembled several different photographs and embellishments which I actually use over a series of pages to do with our trip to Rome. So watch out for some of the other videos to do with that. So I've selected 4 photographs here and a limited number of embellishments, because with 4 big photographs and at least one quite large embellishment, I'm not going to need a large number of embellishments to finish that off. So looking at the backing papers there, I want to use one with the sort of flagstone, cobblestones, whatever you want to call them there, although I'm not going to use them for the whole of the picture. And actually the piece of paper that's on the other side with the marble effect, I don't actually use at all in this particular layout. Even though this trip was in October, mid-October, in fact it was a whole year before to the date before my daughter's wedding day, it really was rather nice and sunny. I've since learnt that actually it's one of the better months to travel to Rome in, and it is quite warm, although it does get quite busy because everybody else has realised that actually it's quite a nice time to go. So just looking again at the different photographs and embellishments, and at this time I'm still thinking I'm going to use this sort of green marbly one, which I don't, as you would have seen at the beginning of this video. You'll see here that I'm fussy cutting around this printout of the Colosseum. It's actually part of a kit with backing papers and stickers and some embellishments for you to cut out. I got this kit and several other Italian themed and Spanish themed and even a Greece themed one from a company called Scrapbook Customs, which are available on Amazon. They do these kits for various different places, including Disneyland, if you are the sort of person who likes to go to Disneyland and scrap about that. They are reasonably priced, and I do think I'll probably use most of what's in the kit. That frame there is actually the outer edge of the bit that had the cutout Colosseum and several other bits printed on it, so I've carefully cut round it to use as a frame for this. So you see, at this stage I had actually selected the bits of paper I wanted for the backing. So I've got a bit of plain green and that one with like the Roman road paving stones, whatever you want to call it, and I'm going to attach them to this frame so that'll hold them together. So just using a bit of double-sided tape around all 4 edges. Getting my little dental stick there to help me peel the tape off. Again, I'm going to use the technique of only peeling off one strip of the tape, not all of it, so that if I don't get the first piece aligned where I want it, it's going to be much easier to realign it. So using the T-square to try and get it nice and straight within the frame there. Apologies if you can hear any noises. One of our neighbours across the road has got a little mechanical digger which they've been doing some stuff in their back garden with, and now they've brought it round the front, so I'm not really sure what they're doing with it out there, but it is making a little bit of noise, so apologies if you can hear it on here. So taking my time over doing this, because it's important that I don't get a gap down the middle, and actually the join between the 2 papers does run parallel to the edges of the frame. Oops. Oh dear. There's the mistake of undoing all of the other bits of tape rather than just one. You can see how it made it difficult to peel off when I dropped it on top of the tape rather than just lining it up. But then, no damage. So that's absolutely fine. Just popping a little bit more under there where there is a flap, just to help the two layers adhere together. It's been quite busy here where I live over the past few days. After well over a year, we've had somebody move into the house next door to us, so there's been vans and cars coming and going there, and then, like I say, across the road they seem to be digging something up, so it'll be interesting to find out what's going on over there. So thankfully they seem to have stopped playing with the digger out the front at the moment. I actually think it was a little bit of a case of boys and their toys having a little play out the front rather than using it for anything in particular, even though they have been using it out the back. You'll see that I've trimmed off the paper, the bits that were sticking off the edge of the frame, and now I'm going to have a look and see where I'm going to put the different photographs. I think it's amazing what some of the ancient civilizations actually managed to achieve without mechanical diggers and things like that, and technology that we have nowadays to do our building work. Like I've said in some of the other videos, I really like visiting some of these ancient sites. I get a certain thrill from knowing that I'm walking where people have walked for so many years, and actually that in some of these countries you can get up close to some of these ancient artifacts and monuments and buildings and things, and they're so much better preserved than they are in England. I think it's something to do with the weather really. Here it's so wet that a lot of ours haven't survived as well as they have done in some of these countries where it's a lot drier and sunnier. They don't get the frost like we do, which obviously is going to impact on some of these. So you'll see here that I'm just using some very sharp scissors there, just to fussy cut around the points on the edges of this frame. So once I decided what I was doing, this actually came together quite nicely and quickly. I'm using the T-square to make sure everything's lined up and balanced as well, and just playing around a little bit trying to decide where I want this cut out of the Colosseum. I did want it to overlap the frame slightly and not fill too much of that green space, which I'm actually going to use for the title and for the journaling. So you'll see that actually there isn't very much of that cobblestone type paper showing once the photographs are on there, but you can see it, so there is some of the effect there, and I think it looks really rather nice there. And I've just discovered what they're going to be doing with that digger, because the trailer's just pulled up, and I think they're going to pop it on the back of the trailer and take it away, thank goodness. That'll make it a little bit quieter, won't it? Although, to be fair, it actually hasn't caused that much of a noise disturbance at all whilst they've been using it out the back. It was just typical that when I came in the front here to do a recording, that they were playing with it out the front. So I'm using a quite fluid handwriting type font there to spell out the word Colosseum. I'm not quite sure what it's called as a font. I'm not really out on kind of things. If you know what it is, then comment down below for me and I can learn something from you. So I always put my titles onto one of my Perspex rulers, because it then means I can move it around the layout to see where I would like to put it, and be able to have a bit of a play around. So I decided that the word Colosseum on its own wasn't enough, that I needed to put the. So and you can see I'm using my T-square as a second Perspex ruler, even though actually I do have more than one Perspex ruler that I could be doing that with, so obviously the T-square was the thing that was quite handy at the time. So again, playing around to see where on top of the word Colosseum I wanted to put the. I wanted to be able to nestle the words into each other to give a nice finished appearance. So now I know what I'm doing. I've moved the letters from the onto the Perspex ruler there, and using the T-square to ensure that I get the letters nice and straight. Oh, make sure you get them the right way up, as also helps. With some of them it's difficult to know just at what sort of slant they should be at, but I think I've worked it out on here and it's worked out quite nicely. So I think I'm happy with that now. So now I'm going to stick down that cardboard embellishment of the Colosseum. Excuse me there for a minute, I had to stop and have a little cough. I think the hay fever is now starting to kick in. It's that kind of time of year really, so maybe I should start taking the Piriton, the antihistamine, to help combat that. So tomorrow when I go back to work, I'm actually going back to the vaccination centre tomorrow to start round 2 of the vaccinations for the staff at the NHS trust where I work, and also for the local health and social care workers, undertakers, etc, etc, all those people who were deemed to be in that category 1 section of workers, to have their first vaccine starting in January. So that we're now due to start on the 2nd round. So I'm really looking forward to going back and doing them again. It made me feel like I was doing something really worthwhile. Not that I don't in my normal day-to-day work, working for the NHS. However, because of COVID, we've not been able to do what I would normally be doing, which is training, moving and handling, so how to move and handle the patients. Hopefully we can get started on that again in June. So I'm writing the journaling in now before I put any more embellishments on. So we've been lucky enough to move recently in terms of my training room and office. So we've moved from the main hospital site to a building on the local college site, and it's a beautiful room that's kind of been purpose set out for us. So it's got the flooring that would be in a hospital ward, and it's got enough space to set it out like a hospital ward, and we're going to have a big touch screen on the wall to do the presentations and things on. So it's nice and light and airy. We've got our fans up on there, we've got a good heating system, the windows open well. So all in all, I think it's going to be a much more pleasant space to be working in and for our learners to come and learn in. So now I'm going to get back to putting some of the embellishments onto this page, and I don't think I want too many. I think basically I'm going to end up with a few leaves and that camera there that you saw, or maybe what was that map, or maybe even both, can't remember now until we've all finished, so that'll be a surprise for all of us to see that all together. I think actually I do use that map and that camera, and I actually peel up some of those letters and stick them over those embellishments, because obviously you want to be able to see the writing of the title. So these larger embellishments, most of them are Vicky Boutin embellishments, which I've purchased off Amazon and eBay. Sometimes people think that a lot of these embellishments are too large, but actually I'm really enjoying using some of these larger embellishments at the moment. And when you're using these larger ones, you don't actually need a lot of anything else in that space. And that one there with the map on was matched perfectly with the backing paper. So for some of them I was using the larger ones using the double-sided tape, but for the small ones I'm using that Xyron sticker maker, which is really good for sticking your embellishments on with. Particularly those where putting some tape on the back would make it a little bit fiddly. That one there that I'm fiddling around with that I've disposed of and put to one side is actually based on washi tape. So I think I'm almost done. Like I say, I don't think I used a lot of embellishments, so just that one little sprig there. Oh, this is a mobile phone with like Google Maps on it. So I'm trying to decide whether I'm using it on this page or on another one. So it looks like maybe off screen I'm peeling off the backing paper to stick it there. Yeah, so here's the finished layout, and you can see I did stick that one on. So thank you for joining me once again in a Very English Craft Room. If you enjoyed this video, please click on the like and subscribe buttons and maybe have a look at some of my other videos. And I hope to see you again in a Very English Craft Room.